given by the county. After those presentations are given, there will be an opportunity for the council to ask questions, and after that, any members of the public that would like to comment on those would be able to also comment.
My.
No problem. I'll repeat that. This is time and place for a public hearing on several matters, and each will be introduced separately. During those periods of time, there will be comments by council. After those comments are made to council and reports given on the motions and on the ordinances, then there will be an opportunity for council to ask questions, and then after that, any members of the public may comment on those items. The first one, Mr. President, is a public hearing to adopt the assessment rules. This one, there is no ordinance. Ms. Jennings.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. The assessment rolls reflect the county's records for equivalent dwelling units, or EDUs, the billable front footage for each sewer and water district. These records have been made available in the billing office for public inspection and review. These records are subject to individual appeal via the Board of Assessment Review. This is not the public hearing for the water and sewer rates. This public hearing is for the list of properties and their applicable front footage and EDUs that will be billed by the rates established in the rate ordinance. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Moore.
Are there any questions from council? If not, is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this matter concerning the assessment rolls? Anyone like to speak? Operator, is there anyone listening remotely that would like to comment?
At this time, there is no one on the line.
Thank you, thank you, Operator. Mr. President, this time we can close this public hearing, and Gina does have a motion.
We'll close the public hearing. Ms. Jennings, read your motion, please.
Thank you. Be it moved that the Sussex County Council adopts the assessment rolls for the Sussex County Unified Sewer District and Water Districts for the period July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Pleasure, council. Motion, Mr. Riley. Second.
Second.
Mr. Hudson. Questions on the motion? We'll take the vote. Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
Mrs. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Hudson.
Yes.
Mr. Riley.
Yes.
I'll be yes. Motion carried. Next, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next matter is an ordinance to establish the sewer and water rates. And Ms. Jennings.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. So quickly going over the water and sewer rates. If you remember during the introduction, we are proposing an increase in water rates by $25 a year and sewer rates $10 a year. This is to cover inflationary costs. Most of it has to do with our treatment plants, the cost that City of Rehoboth and City of Seaford charge. We have to cover those costs in our rates. You'll also notice that our assessment rates, the older districts, the districts that have been online are on the left side, and you'll see there's 7 there that the rates are going down. And then we have 5 more districts that are coming online, and that is the rate that we would like to establish to cover their debt. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Moore.
Yes, thank you. Does council have any questions? If not, is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this proposed ordinance? Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment? Ma'am?
Come on down. Come down here, please.
You need to give us your name and address, please, and make your comment.
My name is Diane Longo, and
Your address?
5 Arrowhead Trail,
Okay.
Indian Summer Village,
Okay.
Millsboro.
Okay.
And I have a question. Is there any possibility that we will be getting sewer and water into our development when I know the lines are right 3 houses away off of 24?
Well, that's not part of this hearing.
Okay,
but we can find that out for sure. I mean, it's something that you would have to request to be annexed in. But we can find that out.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
No.
That's fine.
Is there anyone else that would have a question or like to comment? Seeing none, operator, is anyone listening remotely that would like to comment?
At this time, there is no one on the line.
Thank you, Operator. Mr. President, this time we can close the public hearing on this matter. If council desires, close the public hearing, public record.
We'll close the public hearing. It's okay with council, close public record. Ask Mr. Moore to do a short title.
Thank you, Mr. President. An ordinance establishing annual service charges, annual assessment rates for collection and transmission and/or treatment and connection charges for all Sussex County water and sanitary sewer districts.
Pleasure of council.
Move for adoption.
Motion, Mr. Riley, second,
Second.
Mr. Hudson. Questions on the motion? Take the vote. Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Green? Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carried. Next, Mr. Moore.
Yes, the next matter is an ordinance to increase marital fees. Ms. Jennings?
Thank you, Mr. Moore. So the fees in the Marriage Bureau, we're requesting to charge $20 for a single status form. Currently, Kent County and Newcastle County do charge for that form, and also change the fees for out-of-office ceremonies, 125 from 100 for Delaware State residents and from 200 to 250 for out-of-state couples. And I just wanted to show that Marriage Bureau does usually not break even. It is a cost to the taxpayer. So we do try to look at their fees and try to get that up and closer to break even. Turn back over to Mr. Moore.
Oh, thank you. Are any questions from council?
Nope.
If not, is there any member of the public here today that would like to comment on the proposed ordinance concerning marital fees? Is there anyone that would like to comment? Seeing none. Operator, is there anyone listening remotely that would like to comment on this proposed ordinance?
At this time, there is no one on the line.
Thank you, Operator. Mr. President, this time we can close the public hearing on this matter. If council desires to close the public record.
We'll close public hearing. It's okay with council, close public record. Ask Mr. Moore to do a short title.
Thank you, Mr. President. An ordinance to amend Chapter 62, Article 5, Roman numeral, Section 62-16 of the Code of Sussex County to increase the fees for residents and non-residents for out-of-office marriage ceremonies and renewal of marriage vows, and to institute fees for miscellaneous services.
Pleasure of council.
Move for adoption.
Motion, Mr. Riley, second,
Second.
Mr. Hudson. Questions on the motion? Take the vote. Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carried. Mr. Moore.
The next matter, Mr. President, is a proposed ordinance to modify Recorder of Deeds fees. Ms. Jennings?
Thank you, Mr. Moore. So the Recorder of Deeds fees, I wanted to be clear. I think there was a little bit of confusion. It's just we're removing fees and then we're clarifying fees and aligning them with the rest of the department. So there's multiple things in the ordinance that has not been changed for multiple years that say we do things that we don't do today. So instead of that confusion of saying, well, it does show that you're going to do a title search, we want to remove that because we don't perform title searches downstairs. So that's what that is doing, is clearing that up. And I list everything there, everything that we're removing out of there. And also wanted to clarify other things that we charge, and specifically the copying fees. They were charging different in Recorder Deeds versus the rest of the departments per the budget. So we wanted to align those as well. So none of their fees are going up. They're either going to go down or they're being removed. Okay?
Well, good news, I guess.
Yeah. Turn it back over to Mr. Moore.
Thank you. Are there any members is there any questions from council? If not, is there anyone here from the public that would like to comment on the proposed ordinance to amend and adopt the Recorder of Deeds fees? Any comments? Seeing none. Operator, can you check and see if there's anyone that is listening remotely that would like to opine on this matter?
At this time, there is no one on the line.
Thank you, Operator. Mr. President, this time we can close the public hearing on this matter. If council desires, close public record.
We'll close public hearing. So okay with council, close public record. Ask Mr. Moore to do a short title.
Thank you, Mr. President. An ordinance to amend Chapter 62, Article 6, Roman numeral, Section 62-18A of the Code of Sussex County to modify current fees charged by the Recorder of Deeds and to enumerate such other Recorder of Deeds fees adopted in the budget process and set forth in the Delaware Code.
Pleasure of council.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Schaefer, second. Mrs. Green, questions on the motion? Take the vote, Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
Mrs. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Hudson.
Yes.
Mr. Riley.
Yes.
I vote yes, motion carried. Next, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next matter is in the public hearing on proposed ordinance establishing the annual operating budget. And Ms. Jennings.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. So this is the budget, the overall budget here. This is just a scaled-down version of the PowerPoint that I gave you back when we introduced the budget. So as you can see, the budget overall is going down 4.6% or $12 million. Most of that going down has to do with the American Rescue Plan Act. As we're spending those monies down, obviously there's less to spend. And our capital projects funds are also decreasing, because that is the timing of all the projects. You'll see that our operating budgets are going up, and I have more detail going forward. So let's start with the general fund. The general fund is increasing $9.3 million. So how are we making that up? And the way we're doing that is there's no increase in fees, but we are using $2.4 million of reserves. And as you remember, we only use reserves for one-time expenses. That is not to help with operating costs, ongoing operating costs. Our tax revenue is up $683,000, and this, again, has to do with the additional improvements being added to land. The realty transfer tax revenue, we're relying on that more at $3.5 million. Interest revenue is up $2.1 million. Grant revenue, most of this being from the state of Delaware, is up from up to $1.3 million. The Register of Wills revenue, to our population increasing, their revenue is up $340,000. And our building-related revenue, as we budget conservatively here, is down $1.1 million. So if you take all of those, you'll see that that's where we get the $9.3 million increase on our revenue side. We are requesting some change in fees in the general fund. We are asking for a plan resubmittal fee of $300. So when somebody has to resubmit their fee, whether it's due to rejection or they're changing a building footprint, we had not been charging that. So this has helped to cover the cost of those employees' time. Also, IT would like to rent some space at the data center. So there's the charges there, $500 a month or $1,000 a month, depending on how much of rack space they're renting. Board of Adjustment ADU application fee. This just puts this in if you were to adopt the ADU ordinance. The major subdivision RPC, we also wanted to add $750 for any application that has a Ford is buffer plan. General fund expense comparison. So where are we seeing that $9 million increase in what categories? And you will see majority of that has to do with personnel. We have merits, COLAs. We do have 9 new positions in the budget, if you remember, and 7 of them are specifically public safety related. One is human resources to help with public safety, and the other one is to help with the workload in planning and zoning. Another large increase is the grant and aid of $3 million. Remember, that's $1 million to Dewey Beach for the MOU, $500,000 for the community development program, $500,000 for the, I just lost my train of thought, DSP, and $100,000 for local law enforcement, and then an extra $1 million for the accommodations tax that we expect to collect. The capital improvements, all of those increases have to do with paramedic equipment, and that's what makes up the $9.3 million. Moving on to the sewer operations, you can see that they had a similar increase of 10.5%. And as I mentioned before, a lot of this has to do with treatment costs of our treatment plants with our partners. That has gone up, along with some electricity costs to run our biosolids program. And then as we take on new customers and new areas, like we had talked about in the assessment roles, that also increases as we bring on new customers. So that is not spread out over all the customers. That is just the areas that come on, and that's $1.7 million. And then water is seeing $228,000. Water's a lot smaller budget, but you can see there we have the supply cost from the city of Rehoboth, installing some meters, employment costs, and shared costs from the general fund that we can allocate some of those costs over to the water fund. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Moore.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Jennings. Are there any questions from council? Any questions, council? If not, is there any member of the public that would like to comment on the proposed ordinance establishing the annual budget? Anyone want to speak? Seeing none. Operator, is there anyone listening remotely that may want to comment?
At this time, there is no one on the line.
Thank you, Operator. Mr. President, this time we can close the, excuse me, public hearing on this matter. If council desires, close public record.
We'll close public hearing. So give the council a closed public record. Ask Mr. Moore to do a short title.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. An ordinance establishing the annual operating budget for fiscal year 2025.
Pleasure of council.
Move for adoption.
Motion, Mr. Riley. Second, Mr. Schaefer. Questions on the motion? Take the vote. Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
I will yes. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mrs. Jennings?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another fine job as usual. Andrea Wall.